Hi, I'm Adam Katz for DogTrainerToolbox.com as well as the Cats on Marketing YouTube channel, KATZ Cats on Marketing YouTube channel, where we have over 230 videos on the art and science of how to start and run and grow a dog training business. And also, like I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, the Dog Trainer Marketing Group on Facebook. And in addition, before we get into it, I want to plug my Facebook ad service. If you need to grow your dog training business, if you want an endless supply of desperate dog owners calling you each and every day, each and every week, and each and every month, I'm finding really good results with Facebook ads. Typically, they're about 30 to 70% less than corresponding Google ads. Google ads are still great if you need somebody to run your Google ads. Check out dogtrainertoolbox.com and I'll refer you to who I recommend. But me specifically, I'm running Facebook ads for dog training businesses like yourself, including running Facebook ads for our guest today, who is Eric, the Great Letendre, a longtime friend of mine. Eric and I go way back in the world of internet marketing and dog training. And Eric has I don't know that much about it, so we're going to be learning together. Eric has a really interesting, really unique dog training business model that I wanted to get him on this video interview today because I wanted to find out more about what he's doing, because I really think it might be one of the most recession-proof dog training business models that are out there. So with that, take it away, Eric. Introduce yourself.
Hi.
Tell me a little bit about what you're doing with your dog training business and kind of what you got going on.
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Eric Letendre, and I've been training dogs probably. I've been working with dogs since 1988. I used to work on a canine unit in security canine in Hartford, Connecticut, and then I opened up my own business in 1995. And I've gone through a lot of different types of business, kind of like yourself, right? You've been
Hmm.
bricks and mortar, then you went online, then I think you went back to bricks and mortar, and then you went into this. And that's kind of what's happened with me. My business, the first business I opened up was just dog training. Did that for about a year, and then I had the opportunity to buy a location where I could do boarding, training, grooming, daycare. So I was running all four of those, and then I did that for about 10 years. I sold that business. Everything in my life kind of blew up, and then I went online like yourself. I was doing a lot of online business, selling courses and things like that online, and then
Now, what was that, dog training courses or some
yeah,
other industry? Okay.
no, dog training. Yeah, yeah. That's why I didn't like you back in the
Well,
day.
but boy, that was way back, right? That was
Way back,
the Amazing
way
Dog Trainer
back.
Man.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Okay.
I think that was like probably like early, yeah, like early 2000s, 2003,
That
4.
sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where dogproblems.com, you had the best name, and then you
Hmm.
had the best referrals because you had like Dr. I think it was Dr. Phil gave you a referral. It was on your homepage. Wasn't Dr. Phil?
Yeah, he had called us. He had called me, or his show had called me, not him personally, and
Yep.
asked if I could come on and talk about personal protection dogs for uh, women who'd been the victim of sexual assault. And I ended up that wasn't really in my wheelhouse, so I ended up referring him to Rodney Spicer, who was, I think, Gold Coast Canine.
Mhm.
But I took that testimonial and ran with it.
Yeah.
So.
Which is so that's the thing is back in the day when it was my business was online, your business was online, we were competing. I didn't really hate you, but I was envious of a lot of things that you were
I
doing.
understand.
And
Hey, it's all good now.
yeah, right,
That's
right.
the important part.
Right, exactly. I model a lot of what I was doing. I was looking at what you were doing. I was trying to do a lot of the same. But anyways, and then about I'd say about 8 or 9 years ago, I went back into the bricks and mortar business. I started with my business just on the road. I was driving to people's homes, doing training there, and then I opened up a location. And when I opened up this location, a couple things. I didn't want to do board and train. I didn't want to do any boarding. I didn't want to do daycare. At the top of my I do not want to do list was never to have the dog without the owner. The owner was always going to be there with me. And I wanted a business that I could lock the door at night and walk away from it. When you do board and train, you can never, or if you're doing boarding, it's really hard to leave that business. So when I opened up this
Right.
business, I wanted to do group classes and private training. The problem is that when you do group classes, it's very difficult to make it profitable. It's really difficult to make it profitable because the problem with the group class is if you're starting a class on the 15th and you have another class starting on the 22nd, you get signups for that class. You'll have 15 people sign up for the class, and then you're lucky if 6 of them show up. And then you got to
Okay.
wait another 2 weeks for the class to fill up. And then you're lucky if all those people that signed up show up. And so the model that I came up with was get them in the door, get them to come in and pay right away. And then the following week, they go right into a group class. And this model for me has been, I think, the most profitable way to run a dog training business. I think in a lot of ways, even more profitable than board and train, especially if you're doing it by yourself. If you want to do business, another thing at the top of my I do not want list was I don't want that many employees. I really don't. I just
Yeah,
had employees, right? You've had
I feel you.
employees. And I do have one employee. I have one employee. He's great. He's wonderful. He's lucky I found this guy because he's a business owner and he treats my business like a business, like his business. So I'm very lucky to have him. But it just in general, having a lot of employees is always very difficult. You have to manage
Right.
the employees, payroll, right? It's just I just didn't want a lot of employees. So when I came up with this model, can I run this business? Can I make it profitable? Can I have time off? Can I do it without a lot of stress? Because again, you're in the dog training business for a while, man, it can be stressful, especially
Mhm.
when you're taking care of people's dogs, right? It's just such a high stress job, I think. And that's where you get a lot of burnout. So I didn't want any of that. I didn't want any of that. So that's where I came up with this model. And do you want to explain the model?
Well, yeah, but let me jump in real quick.
Sure.
So
Sure.
you mentioned that you felt group classes are not a profitable a profitable business model, but then it sounds like you're doing group classes, no?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the way I do it.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay. Well, listen, do you want me to I've got a list of questions
Sure.
here. Do you
Sure.
want to
Sure.
jump into explaining about your business model first, or maybe these questions will kind of one by one reveal what you're doing? Um, I'm open either way, whatever you
I
want
think
to do.
I probably best if I explain the business model. That's what everybody
Let's do
probably
it. Let's do it.
really wondering about, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm such an anti-board and train guy.
Right.
If you talk to any of the coaches or you talk to any other trainers, it's all board and train. That's where the money is, right?
Yeah.
You got to do board and train. That's what a lot of trainers tell me. They're amazed. They're like, how come you're not doing board and train? So this is the way I look at it. The way I do my class is a 5-week class. It's one private lesson, and then it's 4 group classes. Okay.
Okay.
And those group classes run on a continuous schedule. So someone comes in, I do free consultations. I get them in for the free consultation and I explain my program. You're going to come in for a private lesson. We're going to do that private lesson. I'm going to take care of any problems that you're dealing with. Jump in, chew in.
Sorry. So you do a free consultation over the phone or in person?
Both, both.
Both. You
When,
mean
yeah,
one or the other?
when somebody calls me, some people call me and they're like, I'm ready to go. Just tell me what the program is.
Gotcha.
I'll be there and I'll start. Other people
Gotcha.
call me and they say, well, I have a dog that barks at other dogs when I walk down the street, or my dog's really anxious. That's when I say, well, why don't you come in? Let me take a look at the dog and then we can explain the different training options.
Okay.
So depending on the person, and as you build up word of mouth, a lot of people just say, how do I start? Right?
Gotcha. Because
Don't
you
have
get people who sign up through your website, don't you?
Yeah, you can sign up on my website. You can call me. You can sign up for a consultation. You can sign up for the first lesson. So depending on how they want to go, a lot of people need that little extra reassurance. So that
Right.
happens, and I can tell over the phone, right? When I'm talking to them, I'm like, yeah, why don't you come in for a free consultation?
Okay.
So they come in for the
So
free
the
consultation.
majority of people are actually making verbal phone contact with you initially as the first step.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If they don't schedule online, then we have to talk over the phone.
Gotcha.
Texting, Facebook, messaging, that stuff. It's just so hard to set up the appointment because you're going back and forth. So
Right.
for me,
Right.
the phone is really crucial. You have to get good at your phone skills.
Yeah, I've been trying to emphasize that lately
Yeah.
because there's at least if you talk with them on the phone, even better if you can see them face to face, but
Hmm.
at least over the phone, you've got vocal tonation and voice inflection. You can kind of get a feel for, where their pain points are, and you can't do that by text. I mean, by text, you're still just an anonymous person.
Right. Right. So we always try to get them on the phone. We have them come in for the free consultation. I explain the program. It's one private lesson, 4 group classes. And then I charge for the whole 5 weeks, I charge $395. That's my price.
Okay. So basically 400 bucks.
$400. Whether it's
Mhm.
puppy level 1, I have level 2, I have level 3. So let's say they're going to do level 1 training. That's for dogs 5 months and older. So they come in and we sign them up for that first private lesson. They come in for the first private lesson, and I give them a crash course on dog training. I teach them my system for training dogs.
Uh-huh.
Right, we
How
have
long does that last? Is that a couple hours, an hour?
45 minutes
45 minutes. Okay.
in, out.
Right.
If you look on my website, I have a ladder. It's called Letendre's Learning Ladder.
Okay.
And what I do is I walk them through that ladder. I
Okay.
teach them, right? All the things that you really have to know about, like, how when you have to manage a dog's behavior, how behavior works, right? Reinforcement,
Right.
corrections, all that kind of stuff. And then that first lesson, what I do is I focus on their behavior problems. What's the dog doing that you don't like? He's jumping, he's reactive towards other dogs, he's stealing food off counters. I don't care what the behavior is, unless it's really like serious aggression or dogs really anxious, stuff like that, really fearful dogs. But your typical problems that most people deal with, we take care of that in the first session. So I show them how to teach the dog to stop stealing food off the counter and jumping, all that stuff. And then you're usually really impressed with that. They're like, wow, this is great. I can't believe you stopped my dog from doing this. And if you know what you're doing, you
Okay.
can stop behaviors kind of quick. And
Right.
it's always amazing to the dog owner. One thing they do is because about 70% of the dogs that come through is they like to steal food off the table, right? They like to counter
Mhm.
surf. So I usually do that as a demonstration, how to teach the dog to stop doing that behavior. And then they're always very appreciative and wow, this is great. And then on my website, I have my class schedule. So then I direct them to my website. They go to my website and I do 4 weeks of classes, leash walking, come when called, sit down, stand, go to place. And depending on where we are in the schedule, that's where they jump in. You follow me?
Depending on where you are, so you
Yeah.
might be.
So like, let's say this week we're doing leash walking all week because
Okay.
we do the same class all week.
Okay.
Next week we're going to do come when called. So if they're starting today, they just did the private lesson. This week we're doing leash walking, so they're going to start next week on come when called. You see, it's on a
Okay.
rotating schedule.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So you don't feel that there's it's better to start them off with certain behaviors and
Nope.
then
That's
progress.
what
It
the
doesn't
private
matter.
lesson's for. Private lesson.
What That's what the private lesson's for. Okay.
Private lesson is we take care of the behavior problems. I teach them a little bit about doing attention. And then
Hmm.
once they do that first private lesson, it doesn't matter where you come into the schedule. For me,
Nice. Yeah.
right? For me, like again, I was taught like most people, you had to start with sit and down and attention, right? And then you move on
Right.
to maybe leash walking, and then you go on to come and call, right? There's a very structured, not me. Once they do that
Okay.
first private lesson, I don't care where they come into the rotation, right?
Gotcha.
They're going to get all
Yeah.
4, they're going to get all the classes, but they can jump into the rotation.
Right.
And by doing it this way, nobody ever has to wait, right? Because that's where you lose a lot of money with group classes because the person is waiting for that class to start maybe 2 or 3 weeks out, and again by the time that class starts, they give the dog away. They found another trainer. They just said, the heck with it. I can deal with the dog jumping on me, right? So I
Okay.
think time is a big thing when you're going to do group and private classes. So that's how we do it. Consultation, first private lesson,
Hmm.
right into the group classes. Group classes are half-hour long. So I run about anywhere from 2 to 3 classes a night. And my part-time trainer does most of the group classes, and I do most of the private lessons and the consultations. And that's
So
how we
group
do it.
classes are half an hour long.
Yep.
How do you get, I got to imagine half the people show up 15 minutes late to a class anyway. So how do you deal with that?
Well, if they're like past 10 minutes, they're gone. They have to come back next week.
So you'll lock the door and just say, come back next week.
Yeah, we don't lock the door, but we just say, sorry, you already missed like important part. So just sign up because it's on a rotating schedule. So it's no
Right.
big deal. If they miss that week, it's okay because it's going to come around again in 4 weeks.
In 4 weeks. Right.
See
Right.
where I'm
So
going?
you kind of train them to know that they have to come on time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Cool.
So that's how we do it.
So then, so I would assume another corollary to this or a sidebar to this is that you're training them how to do the work, basically. You're teaching them, you're giving them just a little taste of what they need to do to teach a specific behavior. Because your average group class size is how many people? 6 to 10 people?
No, it's usually around 5 or 6 people, 7.
5 or 6. Okay.
Small. My facility is only like 1,600 feet, 1,600
Okay.
square feet. Small school. It's not a
Okay.
huge place. It's not a huge place because again, right? I don't want headaches.
Right.
So when I first got into dog training, I went to a school in Weathersfield, Connecticut. I went to this place called Connecticut Canine, and it was a huge place, giant training hall. Had boarding kennels. They had a grooming shop. They had they sold dog food and supplies. And that was the model that I had in my head for years, right? And I think a
Hmm.
lot of dog trainers have this model in their head. I need a giant location, right? I need to board dogs because I need to make, obviously, I got to make cash. I got to make money. And so the model in my head, and I think in a lot of dog trainers' heads, is that we need a big place. But think about it. As you go big, you need employees. You need to heat the place. You need to cool the place down in the summer. The overhead is going to be a lot higher, and the location isn't going to be that great, right? Like, so my school, my
Right.
first school, I live in a nice little town in Westport, and it's a beach town, and my school was the furthest place out. You had to travel to get there.
Okay.
School that I have now is in the same town, but now I'm right on a main road. I'm on Route 6. I have giant signs on my building, and there's about, I think the last time I checked, there's about 18,000 cars that pass my school every day.
Nice. Nice.
Because it's a small location, I could have a more choice spot. But if you
Right.
see a lot of these dog trainers, they're way out in the woods, especially if you're going to do boarding, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't
You
be
have
in
no
this,
signage.
no signage, no foot traffic. People have to come hunt you down. You're way
Right.
out in the woods because you can't have
Right.
fucking dogs around people. And so not only is it a difficult location to find, it's just a hard place to run a business because you're so
Right.
far off the beaten path. So when I opened up my dog training school, I actually wanted to be able to run it almost like I could run it as in like a strip mall or in a mall itself. I wanted a
Right.
small location, small classes, no employees or just a few, and I wanted low overhead. I just saw this trainer on Facebook the other day, and they're opening up a school, dog training school, and it's huge. It's beautiful. It's wonderful, but it's huge. And I'm just looking at this place, thinking of all the headaches of running that spot. So that's why I
Yeah.
like a nice little small school. People come in, we do the classes, small classes. It's more intimate. And I do like an agility class, a small agility class. I do some things like that, some fun things. But for me, like I said, I just wanted it so that low stress, a lot of low overhead, and a lot of profits coming in.
I like it. I like it. All right. Let me get to some of these questions,
Sure.
and we'll see. Some of this may be repeating a little bit, but let's see. So the question is, how do you make $8,000 a week training dogs with no board and trains? Well, we kind of explained that. Let me break down that number that because you threw that number out, $8,000 a week.
Yeah.
So at $400 a dog,
20,
you're
20
at
dogs.
about, sorry,
20 dogs a week.
20 dogs a week, so 80 dogs a month. So if you've got 20 dogs a week and you've got roughly six dogs per class, 6, 12, 18, 20. So you're having to do roughly how many classes? Roughly 4 classes, 5 classes, but then you've got stragglers from prior weeks. So how does that break down exactly?
So my schedule right now is I do 2 Monday morning classes. I have a 10:45 and 11:30 class on Monday mornings. On
Hmm.
Tuesday evening, we have like a 5:45, and a 6:30 class. Same thing on
Okay.
Wednesday night. And then on Saturdays, we do 3 classes. We do a 10 o'clock, a 10:45, and 11:30. So that's
Okay.
my whole class schedule. So you got
So
to remember, as people are coming into the training, you have people leaving the training. It's constant, right?
gotcha.
Every week, as these people are starting, you get these people leaving because they're done.
Right. And then
So
do you ever get people who just sign up, do the first lesson, and then you never see them again?
all time, all
Yeah.
time. I had a guy come in a couple months ago, and showed his dog how to stop jumping and how to stop counter surfing. And he told me straight out, he was like, that was worth everything right there. He's like, I don't need
Right.
anything else. We're good.
Right.
Thank
Right.
um, I also do free follow-up classes. Anybody that trains with me, they can come in for a free follow-up every Saturday afternoon. I do a free follow-up class, and we do 2 puppy play sessions. If you go through my puppy program, every Monday night and every Saturday, we do a half-hour puppy play group. We bring
Now,
out
so with those, do you end up having giant classes where you have
sometimes,
200 people show up?
sometimes the puppy play groups, we've had it as big as like 12 to 15 dogs, puppies in there running around. But
That's
it's
not
just
bad at all.
socialization.
Yeah.
It's just socialization, so it's not a big deal. But yeah,
See,
so
sorry, when I had my my last dog training business, I've
yep,
had three over the years, and one of the ways that so our business model was we do 3 private lessons and then we graduate them to the group class. The group class would typically meet on like a Saturday morning,
yep,
and they can come as frequently or as infrequently as they wanted to for up to a year.
yep.
But we started by the time we sold the business, we started getting some weeks we'd have I don't know 30 or 40 people show up at least that much. So I guess you're able to deal with that somewhat because you have these ongoing classes. And so you said they can come for refresher classes, but can they come for like if you're doing come on command this week, can they come back like 6 months from now and do the come on command class, or they can only come to the one on the weekend?
Yeah, so usually we try to get them into the weekend classes, and
Okay.
that class really is there to help them out. If they come in and they have a legitimate problem and they're struggling with say leash walking or something like that, I will help them. But the whole thing is that when they come in for that follow-up class, a lot of times what they end up doing is they end up going into the next level.
I see. Okay.
So they're
Okay.
like, I'm struggling with this problem. I want my dog to be better off leash. He's not coming to me. And that's where I legitimately help them. And I'm not there to hard sell anything, but a lot of times that's when I will make a quick little pitch that, level 2, you went through level 1. Dogs,
Right.
just like when you went to school, you started with kindergarten, you went to first grade, you went up to high school. I said,
Mhm.
and you went through kindergarten with your dog. And if you really want that off leash control, this is where you may want to consider going into level 2 class. So
Okay.
a lot of
So
times
how many levels do you have?
I have 3 levels.
You
So,
have
well,
three
no,
levels.
puppy, level 1, level 2, and level 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, fascinating. My brain is spinning. I like it. Um,
So let me back
so
up for a second. I just want to explain the numbers. So
yeah.
my goal is to get at least 20 dogs coming in every week.
Okay.
Because 20 times 395 is $7,900.
Right.
So that's where I came up with the $8,000. And that's what I shoot for every week is to get a minimum of 20 dogs coming in. So to run
Okay.
my business the way I want, I have 80 dogs coming in a month. And
My
anything
my my
below,
question is you're doing over sounds like if my math is correct over 1,000 clients a year, and
right?
how is it that you don't have like 400 people showing up for a group class on a Saturday?
Because they go for that private, they do the
Huh?
4 classes, and then they're done. And then you get new ones coming in. You can't just keep coming to the classes. See what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay. But
Once you
you
do
said it's lifetime. Didn't you say it was lifetime maintenance that can come on the weekend?
the Saturday follow-up class.
So do they get one Saturday follow-up class or
No,
endless?
they can do a couple. But most people, honest to God, I usually on my Saturday follow-up class, I usually have around 3 or 4 dogs, and that's it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because after they come for that Saturday class, we find out what's going on. I legitimately help them if they're struggling with leash walking. We work on it, come and called, whatever it is. But a lot of times, it's an opportunity for them to go into the next level up.
Gotcha. So
So,
is that the primary place you pitch them for the upsell?
2 places.
Okay.
As soon as they're done with the training, say you come in for level 1 or puppy. Once you're
Uh-huh.
done with that puppy class or at level 1, we mail you a certificate. We don't give it to you right there.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason we mail it to you is because a sales letter is inserted with the certificate with an offer. So you went through puppy class, you get your certificate, and in that envelope is a letter. Hey, guess
I'm
what?
sorry. The certificate is a graduation certificate?
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you finish puppy class, right? And
Uh-huh.
then mail your certificate. In that envelope is a letter, an offer saying, hey, you went through puppy, your dog did great. You may want to consider do level 1. If you do, here's $50 off. Sign up today, limited offer, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we do
Right.
that with each of the levels. So if
Okay.
they come in for the follow-up class, we'll kind of make a quick little pitch towards a higher level. And as soon as they graduate, they get their certificate, their diploma, and they get a sales letter. Oh, and emails.
When we did the group classes, the follow-up group classes,
Yep.
we would end up getting people who would come because they had nothing better to do on a Saturday morning, and it became like their social activity, right? And so
Yeah,
our
yeah, yeah.
group classes kept growing and growing and growing. So what are you doing differently that I assume you're making it clear that the
I guess,
follow-up is specific to a certain
yeah.
issue or something, right?
Yeah, I guess we frame it that way where, if you're struggling with something, come on in
Okay.
and we're
Okay.
going to help you. If they
Gotcha.
want to, if sometimes we'll say, hey, you know what? They'll come in for that Saturday class and they're still struggling with leash walking. I'll say, we got leash walking coming up in a couple of weeks. Why don't we sign you up and you run through that class again?
Okay. And
But I
that's
will
and that's
do that.
free.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
no, I
Okay.
hate.
Okay. And then as soon as they finish that, then you're pitching them to level two.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So what do
Yeah.
they get from level two and level three that they don't get from level one?
So level two is where I start to introduce the electronic collar. I don't do that in puppy or level one. Level
Okay.
two is when I start to introduce electronic collar, and that's when I really start making the push for invisible leash.
Nice. I love the branding.
The all my classes are called invisible leash, right? That's the name that I use now. Puppy, invisible leash, level one invisible leash, level two invisible leash, and we do a lot to promote off leash training and stuff like that because everybody wants that. Everybody wants that. If you really think about it, everybody wants an
Right.
off leash trained dog. So so that's when level two is they come in. I sit them down. I explain how the e-collar works, what we do, and then I do about two private lessons, and then they go into a group class.
Two private. Okay. And what's
Yeah,
the price for that?
395,
Sorry?
395.
395. Okay. So you get another 400 bucks out of them.
Yep.
And then what's level three?
Level three is just kind of like maintenance. That's where all like the high end guys come in. And
Gotcha.
if you watch some of the videos that I have on Facebook, there's this one guy with a little cattle dog. He's doing some amazing things. You can see them on Facebook, like I said, or YouTube. I got it on YouTube also, where his dog is, healing in the center and backing up with them. That's when we just do a lot of fun stuff with the guys that are been there for a
Right.
long time. Yeah.
So those are the true believers. So those guys they also pay 400?
Those people were put on like a continuity program.
Oh, so that goes more than four lessons. It's just every monthly or something.
Yeah, exactly. They pay that
Gotcha.
like $30 a month, and they can just keep coming.
How much?
$30 a month.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. These are for the
It,
guys that have done everything with me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And these are your true believers that you can
Right.
use when you go to, conventions or shows or
Exactly.
walk in the park or whatever. They're going to show up
Yep.
and support you. And yeah,
Yep.
so
Yep.
very, very cool. So the level two where they get the remote collar, it's 400 bucks plus they have to buy the remote collar from you, right?
Correct.
Gotcha. And do
Right.
you have a branded invisible leash collar at this point, or?
I mean, we use like a lot of people, mini educators.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I presume at some point you'll have the branded invisible leash remote
Right.
collar.
Right.
Get to work on that, young man.
Exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, let me go back to my list of questions, and we'll see if we
Sure.
haven't hit on
Sure.
all of this. Um, so why do you think board and train is the worst way to train dogs?
Yeah. So again, I did board and train. When I used to have a kennel, I did board and train, and for me, I just think it's just so high stress. Everybody says do board and train, but think about it. If you're just by yourself, how many board and train dogs can you do in a month?
Three, maybe four.
Three, maybe four,
Yeah,
right? And at what, $3,000 a piece?
sure.
So that's $12,000 for the month,
Right.
right? So 12,000
Yeah.
for the month. Now think about if I'm doing 8,000 a week, right?
Right. Right.
So
Which
look at the
begs the
numbers.
question: how in the hell? I know part of this answer because I'm running your Facebook ads, but I know there's a lot more to it. How in the hell are you signing 80 clients a month? Some dog trainers don't sign 80 clients in a year.
Right.
I don't know how much you can tell us, but
No,
that's
I'll
I
tell you,
think
I'll
it's a
tell you
big
anything.
question mark.
Yeah, I'll tell you anything. But think about it, right? So what's harder, a $400 sale or a $3,000 sale?
$3,000 sale. Yeah.
Right. So that's much harder than what I'm doing, right? Plus,
Uh-huh.
if you're lucky, you'll do 12 grand for the month, where I'm doing 8,000 for the week, right? That
Right.
comes to what for, the month. And think about the stress that goes with the board and train program. That dog is now yours. Anything that happens to that
I
dog
agree.
is 100% on you. And you can never lock the door. That dog, you can't go on vacation. You can't take a day off. Anything that happens to that dog, you beat my dog, right?
Right. Right.
It's just too, I would just never do it again. And the thing is, if you're in this business long enough, if you take care of dogs in any way where the owner isn't there, if you're in this business long enough, something bad is going to happen, something tragic,
Hmm.
right? Um, I mean, I hate talking about this, but I did dog daycare, and I had a dog that was killed in one of my dog daycares. It was awful.
Mm,
It's awful. It's the worst thing you can experience. I know a guy here in
sure.
town. He not in town, but the next couple towns over, and he does board and train, and his air conditioner failed. Six dogs, right? Wiped
Wow.
out.
Wow. Yeah, terrible.
Awful. Awful. And just think of that stress that comes with like board and train when you're always taking care of those people's dogs, right? And if you're
Right.
in business, like I said, long enough, something like this is going to happen. I don't care if you groom dogs. I don't care if you're a vet. I don't care if you're a trainer. I don't care if you're just a boarding kennel. Something's going to happen. So the stress of having that dog in my care, right, is just too much for me.
Mhm.
Don't want it. At the top of the list for things that I do want, you'll see it says peace of mind, right?
Right. Right.
When you're young, when you're in your 30s, that's not a big deal, right? You're like, peace of mind, that sounds crazy. I don't care about that. I just want to make cash. I just want to make
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
When you're my age, peace of mind is really important, right?
Hmm.
I,
Plus
I,
liability, right? Now you're older, you have a family, you have assets, you have
exactly.
you have a house, you have a lot to lose,
Right.
right? Whereas when you're a 20-year-old kid,
Who cares?
maybe you have a truck.
Right. So so that's the whole thing is that the like I said, I just think it's much more profitable if you learn how to run the system that I use. There's a lot
Right.
less stress, right? If you look at all the great dog trainers, they get bad reviews from board and trains, right?
Right.
Bad
Right.
reviews. You're just no, I mean, you're gonna get bad reviews. I don't care who you are in business. It's just gonna happen.
Mhm.
Even me. But but when you're doing board and train, the chances for a bad review are so much higher. So much higher.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And,
no,
and I want to touch on that just for people who are new to the industry,
yep,
because maybe they don't know this. But even if you do, or assuming you do everything right, there's still this whole thing where like the dog is being separated from his pack, which is
yep,
their family, right? And so maybe he comes to you and he doesn't eat very well because he's stressed from being away from his pack. So he's not eating well. He's in a different environment. He's under a lot of stress. And when they pick the dog up 2, 3 weeks later, maybe the dog has lost 5 or 10 pounds.
yep,
And that's assuming you do everything right, nothing wrong. The dog's just stressed because he's away from his pack and not eating well. And so then they pick up the dog, and frequently what happens if you ever worked in a boarding kennel, you'll notice that a lot of times the dog is now very timid when he's first picked up because he thinks he's been
yep,
excommunicated from the pack. So the first couple of days home, the dog's kind of like doing this thing, and the owner's like, "Did you beat my dog?" And you're
right,
like, "Of course I didn't beat your dog," but the
right.
dog's acting this way, right? So then you have to kind of explain it, and they're skeptical, and it's a whole thing. So, that happens as well. It doesn't happen with every dog, fortunately, but what I do really like about your business is it sidesteps all of that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like I
So
said,
I got to get back to these numbers because if I don't, these guys in
sure,
the comment section are going to hammer me.
sure.
So if you're signing 80 clients a month,
Hmm.
let's say, so you got to have at least uh, figure 3 leads per day coming in. But of
Hmm.
course, we don't sign every lead that calls us. Sometimes it's whatever the schoolgirl who's working on a report about dog training or whoever, right? So
Yeah.
you probably need I don't know what percentage you actually close, but you're probably getting at least 5 to 6 leads per day coming in, which would be, let's say, 6 leads times 30 would be 180 leads per month. 6 leads per day, though, if you break it down like that, it's not an unreasonable number. So is that about in line with what you're seeing?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah,
Okay.
I think the free consultations is a big reason that you can run this business the way you do, because you're always gonna have skeptical people. I mean, I run
Right.
Facebook ads, and I get a lot of people coming in through that, and they come in. And one of the first questions I always ask, "How'd you hear about us?" And we get a
Hmm.
ton of business through word of mouth, right? We get a ton of
Yeah.
business with Facebook ads. People tell me, "Oh, I saw your ad on Facebook."
Good.
And the
Good.
funny thing
That's what I
about
like to
Facebook,
hear.
well, here's the thing that I've learned about Facebook, right? Everybody runs to Facebook when they're looking for a dog trainer. Hey, I live in Westport, and I'm looking for a dog trainer. You got any recommendations? So
Okay.
they start listing people, right? They list you, they list all their competitors. Hopefully you come
Hmm.
up more than your competitors. But then what starts to happen on their page once they've asked for on Facebook for a dog trainer? My ad starts to show up on their page,
Right.
right?
Right.
So this is where I was like, man, I should have been running Facebook ads a lot longer,
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
know that my name gets mentioned, and then a couple hours later, there's my ad, and then there
Yeah.
it is again, and there it is again, right?
Yeah.
It's a slam dunk.
And we target with Facebook as anybody who's interested in dogs. So if somebody gets online and they type a question in a Facebook group,
Yep.
hey, I've got a dog, I'm interested in dog training, that's going to be a cue or a trigger to start showing that dog owner your ad exactly the way you just described it. I'm really good at
Exactly.
summarizing what people have just told me, if you haven't noticed. So,
Exactly.
that's super cool. I know you're doing some other strategies with your marketing, like every year. You want to tell them what you do every year?
Yeah. So just real quick to finish up on that. So you do the
Sure.
Facebook ads, right? We do a lot of word of mouth because we do a lot of follow up, we do a lot of email, do a lot of follow up. And remember what I was talking about before? Visibility. I want a high visible location, right? If I have a
Nice.
place way out in the middle of the woods like I used to have, it's hard to find me. It's hard. People in town were like, "Oh, I never heard of you." Where I am now, you can't not know about me because I'm on the busiest street in the whole town.
So is it you've got a sign in front of your shop, and then do you have a sign on the marquee also?
I have three signs.
You have three signs, and then you,
It's
you use like the. So what do you tell me about your signage?
it's a little obnoxious as you come down Route 6, State Road in my town, Westport, and you can see it on my Facebook page. You can see the signs. The building is on it's on like what do you call that? Where the road splits. The
Oh, like
building.
a frontage road?
Yeah, so there's a road that splits. There's Route 6 and there's Highland Ave. It's on the split, and the building
Okay,
is right in the middle of that split. So I have two
gotcha.
signs. I have a sign facing this way and I have a sign facing that way. And then I
Nice.
also have a lit up sign. And I mean, all you see is my name and dog training. That's all you see when you come down the road. So it's
Right, right.
impossible to miss me. And one of the reasons I like doing business in the town that I'm in is I went to them and said, "Hey, how big of a sign can I have?" They said, "We don't care. Whatever size you
Wow.
want." So it's almost like I have a billboard, two billboards on the side of this building. They're huge.
Nice,
Can't miss
nice.
it. So so when you were asking how do you get 20 dogs a week? Again, the Facebook ads, a lot of word of mouth, a lot of follow up, and the location. Locations.
Gotcha,
Okay.
gotcha.
So what was your question again?
Well, I wanted you to talk a little bit about, the newspaper stuff where every year you get
Oh yeah,
voted
yeah, yeah.
best of.
Yeah. So so the big thing, I'm also all about free, right? I love getting my name out there for free. Okay. And I work very hard at it. So I know that you've talked about before how to get posted in the town websites, town Facebook pages, right? You can't just
Right.
go on a town Facebook page and say, "Hey, I'm a great dog trainer. Why don't you come see me?" So I take advantage of a lot of free press. Actually, it's just good timing, and not to get political or anything, and don't everybody get upset with me, but Trump just did this genius, right? This was genius
Mhm.
what he just did with the garbage truck, right? I mean, he was
Mhm.
on that. He was
Yeah,
on that.
immediately.
He said truck. He said Biden said garbage. Trump had a Trump garbage truck, right? And that's how you have to think of free press. So
Hmm.
when COVID hit, I was immediately making a COVID dog training course. I put it
Nice.
in video, and it's still up there. It's still on my website. I was immediately making this course, and then the next thing I was doing was I was contacting all the news stations in my area.
So smart.
I was on
So
Channel
smart.
6 in the area. I was on Channel 12. The newspapers covered me, the radios, and interviews. So I'm always thinking of ways to get free press. And so coming up, what we do every year, and I get tons of free press, is I do free pet photos with Santa. And you're saying, well, how the heck is this going to get you business, right? But we do free pet photos with Santa. A couple reasons we do it for free. One is that when you say free, there's nobody that won't promote you, right? Everybody's going to promote you. Radio stations, TV, Facebook, everybody's going to promote you because it's free. And the thing is, it is free, but we do take a donation in any size. It can be a quarter. It could be $100. We take a donation for one of the local shelters that we work with.
Nice.
So they promote our free pet photos with Santa. Everybody comes in. First thing we do is capture everybody's name and address, because guess what they're going to get? They're going to get an offer.
You're getting a pitch. Yeah.
So we capture everybody's name, email address when they come in. We do the photo for free. They get the picture for free. There's no charge. And then we donate all of that money to one of the local shelters. But like I said, the big thing for me is it's such a win-win because my name is plastered everywhere. Free pet photos with Santa. Nobody does free pet photos with Santa. Everybody charges. But I do them free because, like I said, I take a donation any size. That everybody comes in. We have a ton of people that show up. We capture all their information, and then we pool all that money together, and then we donate it. And once we donate it, that's another press release, right?
Right. Wait. So tell me about how are you approaching the press? Are you faxing them a press release? Or are you just calling them? How's that work?
We do all of it. We send in the press release. And now I have a pretty good relationship with a lot of these people. I could just call them.
Nice.
But what we're doing, and then like the Facebook pages, again, I just go ahead and post it on the Facebook page, and they don't get shot down because again, it's free, and it's promoting the pet photos, not my business directly, but there's my name.
Yeah, that was beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So we
and
contact.
then I would imagine when you do the donation to the charity, you go out there with the giant check.
Exactly. Exactly. And then and so like last year I work with Fairhaven Animal Shelter, which is a shelter a couple towns over, really great people. The chief of police comes out, right? The deputy chief comes out, we take a picture, and then next thing you know, that's everywhere, right? Because again, so I'm getting two press releases, one at the beginning and one at the back end, right? Plus I'm getting all these names and addresses. All those people get contacted with an offer, right? So, I mean, those are the kinds of things that you have to think about. And those things will pop up every once in a while. There's some that you can put into so my pet photos with Santa, every year we do that. That's just something we do. But then I try to stay like thinking about relevant. Yeah, if anything pops up, is there any way I can tie into this to get free press coverage?
Right. So give me an example besides COVID. Give me an example maybe of another one or two that you've done that correspond with something happening in the news.
Yeah. So what was the last one we did? I'm trying to think. They put me on the spot.
Sorry.
It'll all come to me as soon as I get off.
We can go on to another question. Yeah.
Right.
So what are the let's see. Sorry, you said you were a desperate, out of work, borderline alcoholic who discovered the best dog training business model anyone can follow and use. Can you tell us about that? Well, I guess we just kind of covered a lot of that. Let me just while you're thinking of other stuff to talk about, this strategy of leveraging the press, leveraging your local press, is so brilliant, and it's something that anybody can do anywhere. It just requires some creativity and some motivation, and literally what you're doing is you're getting thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars worth of publicity, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of publicity, because what happens is, depending on the issue, the big networks like ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News, CNN, they're watching the local news affiliates in different markets. And when their spotters see something going on that's kind of cool and kind of relevant to what's happening in the news, your local story can get picked up by a national story. Now, that may or may not benefit you so much as a local business, but it certainly doesn't hurt.
Right.
And what that also does is it gives you the opportunity to say, as seen on Fox News, on CNN,
Exactly.
on MSNBC, blah
Right.
blah blah, right?
Right.
It just gives you more credibility because everybody in your local town then not only sees you in the local press, but they also see you on the national press,
Right.
and you cannot underestimate the power in that. It's literally if you tried to spend that with ad dollars,
Forget
you
it.
you know, 50 to
Forget it.
$100,000. So it's really I really applaud you. It's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah. So I'm constantly looking for things like that to, pop up. And I've been working on this big project for the past year, so I've really slacked. I'll be honest, I've slacked on trying to keep my head on a swivel when it comes to
Hmm.
these things. But but I do have, like I said, the standard ones that I do every year, like the
Right,
quotes
right.
and
Yeah, and I think there's always stuff that that you can use to tie in to what's happening in your local community. So if there's,
yeah,
for example, a big car show,
yep,
maybe the week in advance of the car show, you call up the news and say, "Hey, I'd like to be featured to do a segment on how to teach your dog to ride in the car."
right,
Since we're going to be having all these people, so it just the dog training industry, it lends itself to that kind of creativity.
yeah,
Okay, let's see. So you talked about you kind of talked about having two lists, right? Did
yeah.
we kind of touched on that, or do you want to go into that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's yeah, the two lists. So everybody always talks about, okay, make a list of what you want in your business, right?
Hmm.
Well, obviously I want to make I want to make good profits. I want a good location. I want, you know, whatever. And I always think that it's important to, as again, I never really thought about this until I got older, is that you need to have a list. Yeah, these are the things that I want. So me, I wanted a profitable business, right? I wanted low stress, low overhead, good location. But I also think you need to make a list of what you don't want. I think it's very important. What don't I want in a business, right? Again, I don't want employees. I don't want a lot of stress. I don't want a location that's way out in the middle of the woods, right? I want to always try to use that list as a guide for my business because there are times when I think, oh, maybe I should do this. But I know if I start doing that, then one of the top things that I do want, peace of mind, is going to go away. Right?
Right, right.
So I think it's really important for a business owner to make a list of what I want, what do you want in your business, and also a list of what you don't want in your business. Okay? For me, it's so
And build
crucial.
your business model around those two lists.
Well, we talk about it all the time, right? One of the things that you said is lifestyle.
Hmm.
That's one of the things you tell me all the time, lifestyle business. And if you really think about it, why not create a business that fits your lifestyle? That list is good for me. It might not be good. Someone else, I know there's some people out there going, this guy is crazy. I'm never going to give up board and trains. And that's fine, right? I'm not saying you
Yeah,
have to live
yeah.
according to my list. I'm just saying that you need that list of what you want, what you don't want, and then you need to develop your business around that list so that
Right, right.
you don't, everybody talks about all these business coaches, which the dog training world now, it's amazing how many
Mm.
dog training coaches there are, right? And I and
I
I
see two or three new ones literally every single day.
and I follow some of these coaches, and I'm always amazed. I'm like, wow, this is bad, right? Some are good, I guess, right? But some of them are just, I'm like, I can't believe the advice they give. And all of them are saying, board and train, board and train, board and train. You got to charge higher prices. You got to charge higher prices. Well, maybe not. See, me, part of my business model
Yeah.
was I wanted to help. I wanted to help a lot of dogs. I wanted to help a lot of dog owners.
Mm.
And I was listening to some very popular dog trainer who does board and trains, and he was saying how he's booked 2 years out before he can take in a board and train. And he was very proud of that. And that's good. That's great that his business is like that. But for me, I would hate to think that someone would have to wait and deal with their dog for 2 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At that
Me,
point, the dog might not even be alive.
right. For me, I want to get as many dogs. I want to help as many dogs as I really can, and that's really at the top of my list. Is that yeah, the money, all that stuff, the peace of mind, but really, I do want to help dogs. I do want to
That's
help
why we
train
do
them.
this. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
mean, I do a lot of work for shelters. I do a lot to help other dog trainers, but really, it's to get as many dogs in that I can help using my system so that they go out and more dogs come in and potentially saving the dog from going to a shelter, being rehomed, or anything like that.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So this is why if I charge $3,000, I know that I'm going to miss a huge segment of the population, right? There's just a lot of people. There's no way they could pay
Right.
3,000. But I'm also not charging 150 like Petco. So I'm that
Yeah.
guy, right? That a business coach would never. I've had dog trainers tell me that I'm crazy, right? They say I've never. I talked to this one dog trainer out in California, and she says I've never charged such low prices. I could never run my business at 395. I'm like, well, that's because that's your model. Yeah,
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
model, right? If you can't make a living off of that price, yeah, then your model's all wrong. But dog
Right.
coaches never talk about models. They will now. They'll all start
Yeah.
stealing this,
Well,
right?
there's brilliance in the way that you've set this up with your, level one, level two, level three, you're walking them up and keeping that price point affordable without sacrificing, your top line revenue.
Right.
And I think especially as or if we go into, a recession. I mean, there's always a recession looming over the
Of course.
economy.
Of course.
Certainly, the cost of living has shot way up. People have much less disposable income. And so, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on here, number one, you're just a super nice guy. But number two, you've really positioned yourself just brilliantly for almost any type of economic calamity,
Exactly.
because one of the things that we found is that the dog training industry in general has been very recession resistant.
Right.
But we've also found that now that the COVID sugar high has gone away, there's isn't the same demand, the same exaggerated demand for dog training as there was during COVID,
Right.
and people don't have quite the disposable income that they had when they were getting stimulus checks from the government. And
Exactly.
so you're in a position now where pretty much the common man or common woman can come
Right.
and take advantage of a professional dog training program
Right.
that isn't just some baloney Petco PetSmart program, but actually, is a legit approach to dog training, and I see it. I think one of the criticisms may be like, well, how much can you really teach them with only one private lesson, and then four. But I feel like this is legit. Like this can be done. You've got the plethora of testimonials to prove it's been working. It's not like you've only been doing this for a year. How many years
Right.
have you been working this model?
This model about probably about 8 years now. It's
Okay. So
7, 8 years.
it's proven you've been doing it long enough. We know it works.
Yeah.
You would have been run out of town at this point if it was some kind of phony thing. I mean, I could anybody who talks with you for 5 minutes can tell by your demeanor that you're not just a bullshit artist, which you really have to be careful in this industry because there
Oh
are
my
laws.
God, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love it. Let me I wanted to ask you because you had mentioned that the Mark Twain book, Tom Sawyer, had a profound impact on you. And I think we talked about this when you came out to visit us in Florida. But
Yeah.
when I was in college, I worked at the Mark Twain Project at UC Berkeley,
Oh, no kidding.
and that was where they had a collection of all of his original manuscripts and letters he had sent to, other famous celebrities and presidents and stuff during his time. So I'm a big fan of Mark Twain. But you specifically took some inspiration from the book Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how
Sure.
that influenced your thinking in regard to a dog training business?
Yeah. So I grew up right outside Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up in a town called Manchester, Connecticut, and Mark Twain House is right in Hartford.
Oh
So
wow, I forgot
so
about that.
growing up, yeah. So Mark Twain House, big deal in Hartford, and Mark Twain lived there, and so it was a big influence on me as I was growing up, and I loved all his books. And Tom Sawyer is one of my favorites, right? And
Hmm.
the best, so Tom Sawyer is a bunch of little stories, and that's how a lot of his books are, like Huck Finn, right? It's a bunch of little stories within the story. And one of
Right.
the best stories in Tom Sawyer is the Paint the Fence, right?
Hmm.
Everybody knows that story, Paint the Fence,
Yeah.
where Aunt Polly makes him because he's playing hooky, right? So he has to paint the fence, and then next thing you know, all his buddies are doing the work, and they're paying him to do the work, right?
Right.
And I'm like, again, it sounds like I'm gonna knock board and train, but people come to me, right? They pay me, but they do the work.
Yeah.
Board and train, they come, they pay me, I do the work.
Right. Right.
So I think in business, again, if you want to scale, right, you have to do again group, especially because in this business, if I'm doing group classes, right now I can help a lot of people and they're doing the work, which is really important, right? They should, for me, I think they should train their dog, not me. I should
Yeah.
just coach them on how to train their dog, and I get paid for it. And so I know it's
Right.
like I keep knocking board and train, but like I said, paint the fence is all wrong in the board and train model because I get paid, yeah, but I got to do all the work.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, I like paint the fence where I get paid and you do the work.
Right. Right.
So
Well,
that's
and I think it's important to point out also that it's not about just the point to them doing the work is that they're going through the process of learning the
right,
techniques and how to communicate with their dog and how to
right,
give motivational praise and corrections and stuff. So I think that for any long-term success for the dog owner, whether it's a group class or a private lesson or a board and train for that matter,
right,
ultimately, they're going to have to be doing some of the work.
right,
And my business model was it really was. I think your business model is a lot is even better, I would say, than the business model that I was using. But I always approached it kind of in the same way. It was that the dog owner has to it's like you can build the best gym with the best gym equipment in the world and the highest technology, Nautilus machines and everything. But if they don't put in the work, then
right,
they don't get the results. And there's nothing wrong with leveraging your business around that truth,
right.
which it seems to be like basically what you've done.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
And yeah. And that's why we do offer the ongoing support, because I want the people to know if you're struggling. And the other thing I want to make clear too is, what I'm doing is pet dog training, right? It's not high level competitive obedience. It's
Right.
protection training. It's not anything, like that. It's pet dog training. And I think if you want to be successful training pet dogs, you really got to come at it from their point of view. And I think some dog trainers struggle with that.
Good. Let me get through. Let's do
Okay.
a lightning round and get
Okay.
through some of the rest of these questions just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Um, so we kind of talked about the secret reason why dog trainers fail and how to avoid it, which was focusing on the board and train model. How to drive your competition crazy by getting more reviews, more money, and more customers.
So we've already kind of talked about it, right? If I'm doing 3 dogs a month, how many dogs am I getting in front of? Right?
Right.
If I'm lucky, one of them will give me a good review. If I'm
Right.
lucky, and I won't get a bad review, right?
Whereas if
Uh,
you're doing 80 a month,
Doing 80
yeah,
a
even if
month,
you only had 10% give you a review, you're
right?
still way ahead of the guy doing only 3 dogs a month. I love it.
And I never ever let them forget that I like referrals. They get cards from me, right? They get
Right.
cards from me. They get gifts from me. We send them cookies. We do all kinds of stuff to make sure that they keep sending referrals. That's a big
Do you
part.
have your own invisible leash CRM or
Right
or
now we use a company called Busy Paws.
okay,
That's
good to
what I
know.
use. Yep.
Good to know. So how can the U.S. government help protect your dog training business from unscrupulous employees and low-life competitors? That's a good one.
Yeah. So again, the biggest problem in this business, right, is somebody comes in, I teach them how to be a dog trainer, and then what do they do 6 months later? They
They go
become a
and they
dog
start up
trainer.
their own business.
Exactly. Right. And
Right.
there's no way around that. There's no way you can stop that. So I was getting really sick of it. I've helped a lot of dog trainers in my area, and that I'm still friends with some of them, and then some of them not so much. And they use all my stuff. And there's no way you can really stop that, right? But
Okay.
the one thing they can't use anymore is this term right here, visible leash.
Then
Did you see this right here? This is
Mhm.
registered trademark. Okay. So I own invisible leash. So
Nice.
guess what I push constantly? Invisible leash, right?
Right.
And
Right.
none of my competitors can steal it. Nobody that works for me can steal it. Okay. So it's kind of like I was surprised that that was available, but that's what you need to think of if you're in business and you want to protect yourself. You got to start thinking about trademarks, right? Because we're in the business where anybody can take anything they want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever system you develop, whatever you're using, the guy that learns from you could do the same thing and then pretty much maybe even, take business away from you. But if you have something like this, like invisible fence, like tissues, like jacuzzi, right?
Right, right.
Some protection, some protection.
Okay. So let's see. Why dog trainers should drop everything and study the advice of a 52-year-old alcoholic, failed milkshake mixer, salesperson, franchise, and systems.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about there?
I'm pretty sure I do.
Who do you think I'm talking about?
Ray Kroc in his
Ray
book
Kroc.
Grinding It Out. Am I correct?
Exactly. See?
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Ray
We're
Kroc.
we're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, I know, right? So, Ray Kroc, you can say a lot of things about the guy, right? If you watch The Founder, I thought that was a pretty good movie. Or
Yeah.
his book, like you did, Grinding It Out, I thought it was a good book. But he's there's a lot of people that really don't like Ray Kroc. But if
Hmm.
the one thing Ray Kroc did is he really pushed that a business, right, should be run like a system. The McDonald's brothers really came up with the system, but he's the one that took it and ran with it. And if there's one piece of advice that I could give anybody is that they really need to run their business like a system. And
Yeah.
and I just think so many people in business, it's just kind of walk in the door, flip the lights on, and let's get to work,
Hmm.
which is fine. But if you really want to be successful, if you really want to take things to another level, you have to start running your business like a system. And Ray
Right.
Kroc was a big inspiration for me because I started reading his book, started kind of studying the guy, and then you see all these other really successful businesses, and they're all run on systems. Everything successful is run on a system, right? And McDonald's, most successful restaurant on the planet, hands down. And it's because they have the best system. They got Chick-fil-A right behind them. Chick-fil-A, I mean, could take them. But Burger King, how come Burger King's never become as popular as Chick-fil-A or as McDonald's? Because they don't have as good a system. They really don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And what's interesting is that not only do they have the best system, they kind of have to
yeah,
because they have the worst employees. They have
right.
unmotivated high school kids, who couldn't give two shits about, pleasing the customer or whatever. So they have a
That's the
systems
funny part, right?
manual, huh?
That's the funny part. Here's the most
Yeah.
successful restaurant in the entire planet, hands down. You can't argue with them, and
Yeah.
it's run by a
Yeah.
bunch of teenagers that don't want to be there.
Right. And so the important takeaway here is that you have a systems manual that you
Yeah,
put together for everything, specifically everything that you do on a regular basis, with a policy and a procedure for how all those little things that need to be done to make your business successful,
right,
how to do those things. So you have almost like a secrets manual that you can hand off to somebody else who could not have to reinvent the wheel and
exactly.
and find the same kind of success that you have, which is a
Right.
great segue for what you're doing now. And why don't you kind of explain to the peoples at home
Right.
how they could learn more about what you're doing and maybe enjoy some of the same success that you are, rather than having to try and figure everything out themselves.
Yeah. 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 So, I started running this model and I really did take it from a systems point of view, right? So I have a system that I use to train dogs. I have a system that runs my business. I have a system, right? Facebook ads,
Yeah.
how they come in, how we run everything. Everything's run on a system. And then the other thing is, as I said earlier, I've helped a lot of dog trainers become dog trainers, and then they become my competition. And
Right.
there's really no way around that, right? There's no way around that, and that's okay. And like I said, I'm still friendly with a lot of them, but I'm not so much friendly with some of them. And I never wanted that to happen again, especially after the last experience that I had. I never wanted, right, another dog trainer to become my competition after I was really good to them, and then they just kind of got bent for whatever reason, right? So I was
Hmm.
like, well, how can I solve this problem? And that's when I came up with the way that I solve this problem is I have to make my business into a franchise, right? I have to make it into a franchise. And that way someone buys into the franchise. Now I can help that person run their business like I'm running my business, right?
Okay.
And now we're on the same team. And that's really
Gotcha.
all I want is when someone becomes a dog trainer, I'll be on the same team with you. Just don't become my competition if I'm the one training you, right?
Right.
But there's no
Right.
way around that. Just human nature.
Right.
But with the franchise model, and I never in a million years thought that this was the route that I would go. right? I never thought that, but I did want to increase business. I did want to open up more locations, but I just never felt comfortable doing that with just whatever. Having another location a couple towns over with somebody who's an employee of mine, what happens if they quit, right?
Hmm.
Now I got these two locations. So that's when I started looking into the franchise model. And that's what I've been doing the past year is that we have taken the Invisible Leash brand and we've made it into a franchise. So there are now opportunities to become an Invisible Leash trainer, right? Where you can learn this system to run your business. I can't guarantee what you would make, but I can guarantee that for me, I would do everything I could to help you be successful, because if you're not successful, then I'm not going to be successful.
Right.
So,
And there's a lot more, we've just kind of skimmed the surface, and there's a lot more to, making all of this work the way that you figured out how to make it work. So, for example, if I'm in Ocala, Florida, you're basically giving me a blueprint, which is what any good franchise should be,
right,
to set up a location here in Ocala, Florida, and enjoy the same or similar success to what you've experienced.
right, right. And you get the support, right?
Right.
That's the
You
big
have
thing.
somebody to call when
Well,
things
think
get
about
weird.
if you're starting a business, it's scary, right? You start a business, I don't want to fail. And the whole thing with the franchise is that this is stuff that I've come up with over 30 years, right?
Hmm.
I didn't just start doing this last week, like some of these business coaches. But this is the whole thing, right? Is I've been doing this for a long time and I've been through a lot of different types of business, just like yourself, right? Bricks and mortar, online, offline, right? So I've been through a lot of different things. I've made a lot of adjustments, and now the business that I run for me is like the best model ever because it's profitable, it's low stress, and
Uh-huh.
the big thing about with my business too, I think one of the reasons we're successful is because we do give a lot to people. When you come and train with me, you get a copy of my book that's available on Amazon. You get access to my online course, right? You
Hmm.
get the ongoing support.
No, sorry, we're talking about as a dog owner, right?
Yeah, if you're a dog owner, you come to me, right? You
Right.
start training with me, you get a copy of my book, you get my online course, you get ongoing support. And so a lot of the things that I've already done in business would be difficult for somebody starting from scratch.
Right.
But once you become part of the franchise, you get access to all that.
You
So
hit the ground running from day one and you have all of that.
exactly, all that
Right.
support, all that
Right.
material. You don't have to
Right.
come up with it. I've already done it.
Yeah.
So because think about it, how many dog trainers out there are going to sit down and write a book? I mean, you've done it. I've done
Hmm.
it. It's not easy.
It takes a lot of time.
It's not fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Plus
So
all the online infrastructure and the booking and the all of
website,
it. I mean, yeah, I think it's a tremendously compelling offer that
yeah,
any professional dog trainer should look into. Again, I think the biggest selling point really, I mean, there's a lot of franchises that you can buy into. A lot of them are way overpriced, but not all of them. Even the good ones, though. I personally, I think that the biggest selling point is that this is a very, very recession-resistant business model that you've got, and also, I think we kind of skimmed over it in the beginning, but you typically work like 4 days a week, right?
4 days a week. Yep. That's all I work. 4 days a week. Because again, it's one of the things I wanted. I didn't want to work 7 days a week. If I do board and
Right.
training, or if I do boarding kennel, if I do anything like that, even dog daycare, right? I'm going to be in there minimum 5 days a week. And then like I said, if you're doing anytime you're taking care of a dog, it's 7 days a week. 7 days a week. So
Are you on those days that you're working? Are those typically like 18-hour days?
no, no. I usually go in around 11, 10, 11 o'clock, and then I work till about 6 or 7, right?
Gotcha.
And it's not a tough job either, right? I'm not slinging
Right.
dogs.
Right.
I'm, I'm sitting down across from the dog owner and I'm helping them train their dog, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's an easy job. I mean, it really is. It's not tough. But yeah, and so that's the other thing is, I have a family. I mean, you met my kids, right?
Hmm.
Kids. And
Beautiful kids, beautiful wife,
thanks. And
beautiful mother-in-law.
yeah,
I'll say
right. You
it.
met everybody. You met the whole family. But but yeah, I want to spend time with them, you know?
Right.
And that's why again,
Get back to the whole lifestyle
exactly.
business. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Very good. So tell everybody watching at home, how can they learn more about what you're doing and learn more about the franchise offer? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can just go right to my website, ericletendre.com. There's
ericletendre.com.
Yep,
Okay.
Letendre. And there's a link there for the franchise opportunity now. And so they can just go there. If they have any questions, feel free to email me. My phone number is on my website. You can give me a call. I'll do I can do over the phone consult with anybody that wants to know more information, or we can do a Zoom. I don't care, whatever's good for them.
Right, good. And then I'll put you send me the links. I'll put links to you and your stuff
Great.
below the video on YouTube, and then also in the Dog Trainer Marketing Group, so it makes it easy for
Thanks.
people watching this to find
Thanks.
you. And
Great.
so, is there anything that we haven't kind of touched on? I know we covered a lot, but while I've got you, I don't want to be remiss to leave
Yeah.
something out that I just didn't think of because I'm still waking up out here.
Yeah. No, I think we covered everything. I think we're good.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Well, you're fantastic. You've been a fantastic guest. I appreciate you
Thanks.
really being an open book about what you're doing, because it really, man, when you first told me what you were doing, it really blew my mind because it's very different from what the vast majority of professional dog training business owners are doing. And the fact
Yeah.
that you've been able to pull it off and make it work, not just make it work, but make
Yeah.
it profitable, and not just make it profitable, but highly profitable,
Yeah.
is to me a really exciting opportunity. So,
Thanks.
hey, I'm Adam Katz for DogTrainerToolbox.com. Feel free to check us out. We've got a bunch of tools and programs and services and all kinds of stuff that will help you grow your dog training business. Eric uses us for his Facebook ads, but we've got a lot of other stuff, a lot of free stuff too. You check out the Dog Trainer Marketing Group on Facebook, as well as Cats on Marketing, K-A-T-Z, Cats on Marketing on YouTube. And anything that I can help you out with, get in touch with me through the Dog Trainer Marketing Group on Facebook.